TTrades invited me here today to talk about the broadening formation, and specifically, he said he had a lot of questions the other day about why does it work and what is it. So the broadening formation, although a lot of other strategies do talk about it, like if you Google it, you'll see few different strategies and people talking about the broadening formation. With the strat, we have a unique way of looking at it. So if we go and just take one chart, make this simpler here. I know a lot of you guys were watching the one, I don't know, it's on ES yesterday, so this big old try. So the main question from what I heard was, why does it work? Why do the lines do that? And I think Thinkorswim's a little laggy for the futures, so I apologize. But the reason the lines work is because over time, ranges broaden. They get bigger. And all a broadening formation is a broadening range, where the range starts smaller and gets much bigger. So since we know over time ranges will get bigger, a lot of people will use horizontal lines, but those do not account for the time aspect of price, because over time it will broaden. So what you can do is, when you're drawing them out, the lines will act as support and resistance, and what we call it with the strat is true support and resistance, because you account for that time aspect. And when you're looking at this, what you'll notice is price will take one side of the range, or your liquidity, fail, and then take the other side. So the same idea that you guys use with external liquidity and internal liquidity, it's a very similar concept, but all the lines do is account for that time aspect that horizontal lines do not. So the reason it works is because price goes through price discovery. And what that means is, over time, all they're trying to do is price things correctly, right? So you have different views on the algorithms towards us as far as ICT and strat go. But over time, what the algorithm's trying to do is price things correctly. So we call these broadening formations price discovery broadening formations, because what happens is when you go from one side of the range to the other, what you're going to do is you're going to stop a ton of people out, which takes liquidity from these sellers and causes price action to speed up when you go back through a previous range. And the other thing that happens is you create crowded trades. So when it makes the new highs to all these previous highs here, anyone that's long, they've had all the time in the world to get long. You're making higher lows and higher highs, right? So once we go into the new highs, what we say is that's exhaustion risk, or we don't know if the buyers are going to continue to buy. Because when you go from, let's say, here to here, so from from 5248 into 5270, the buyers are buying, right? People are getting long. But once you make those new highs, you've stopped out anyone that was short. So if you are short, you have nothing to be short against. And at that point, you can potentially have a crowded long position or crowded long trade. And that's why when things reverse and fail back through previous range, now that crowded long position, everyone gets stopped out and you take out all these previous lows. And then once it's done that, now it's a crowded short position. And then you go all the way back through. And then once you do that again, now you can see up here, everyone's long into the new highs. Anyone that was short, they're stopped out. They have nothing to be short against. So when it fails, the first guys to take their profit on their longs trigger all of that to happen back through the previous range and stop everyone out. So when we're trading as stratters, what we're looking for is, give me the broadening formation and give me the big ones, because the bigger the broadening formation is, the more likely it actually is to fail and go back through that previous range. So in this case, you'll see it gets very, very small. And then this morning for CPI, super big. And if we go to the 1 minute, which I know a lot of you guys are watching this stuff, notice when news events happen, this is where Rob, the guy who invented the strat, or at least coined everything we do as stratters, this is where he noticed it happening and where he kind of came up with this reasoning behind it. So when the news comes out, everyone's sitting there and they have their hand or their finger above their button. So they're either going to buy or sell, right? So right when the news comes out, or you can see right before it, everyone's like, buy. They all click their button. So it flies up into the highs, you stop anyone out, and then everyone's long. So what happens? The first guy to take some profit up here sends it back through. And since everyone's long, it's an order vacuum, because there's no willing buyers in here. They've already bought. So now once you come below where that initial news spike or news was released, once you're below that, now anyone who is waiting there to do their positioning. Now they say, wow, good news. Now it's bad. So everyone sells in the other direction. And this sometimes will happen more than once, might happen 4 times. It could happen over and over and over. But that concept of everyone getting along and then everyone has to get out, or vice versa, is what we're trading. So for example, yeah. And then the other way is we can scan for it and identify the broadening formation, because what a broadening formation is it's a bar that's outside of the previous bar. So if you look at, this is a cruise line stock here, you can see it goes up, making new highs to the previous bar, and then fails by going red right here. When that happens, that's a potential broadening formation, because when you fail one side of the range, and now this bar is red, your power of 3 tells you what? It's like, well, green to red, that's your manipulation right there. Now it's going the other way. So what we look for is, you can see the broadening formation forms here, makes the new lows, makes the new highs. So you can actually just find that right there from the candlestick, like so. So this is now your broadening formation. So when this fails, now we know where it's going. It's going down there, as long as that stays red. So what we're looking for the big moves is, give me the higher time frames. And the higher time frames, they'll tell you where the potential 3s are, or where those broadening formations are. And all the 3 is when you make the new highs and the new lows. And since it happens on a candlestick chart, this is one of the 3 types of candles you can have. We know this occurs for sure. It's one of the 3 things price can do. So for example, this is something we called out in SPY here in 2022. Notice we take the previous year's highs and then flip red. The second that happens, what's it trying to do? It's trying to take out both sides of this previous bar's range here by going new highs and new lows to the previous range. And then once you've done that, this is now your broadening formation. So you can see they come back the next year. Now they're coming back through that. So where's it trying to go? The other side of that range again. And now this year, everyone's talking about the market potentially crashing, right? If you're going to do that, the way we would draw it out, or the way we identify it, is like this. Where if we draw from right to left, what you can see is we've made new highs to all of this stuff, to these highs, and new lows here to all of these lows back here. So if we're going to reverse, what we need to see is we got to take out some previous month lows and stay down, because once we're failing back below these highs, then we can start thinking about taking out all of these guys, failing one side of the range and going outside. And if we go to the year, what would that look like? Well, you'd have to be trading below 472.16 for the potential failed trend to the upside turning into a 3 or broadening formation to the downside. And that means below this, that's what we want to know about.